You said something last night that I thought was really interesting, and that's that, leftists get it wrong when they're asked what a woman is, but that conservatives don't get it much better. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly on this problem that we're talking about. Of we've taken their premises without even knowing it. I call it the dead end of DNA. The leftist answer to what is a woman is, well, I don't know, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a scientist. It's very, very complicated. Women are so much more than just some genitals and chromosomes. But the conservative answer now is women are just genitals and chromosomes.
Yeah.
That's the same soul-denying scientism that the libs have been peddling to get us into this mess in the first place. I don't think that women are just a couple of X chromosomes.
Yeah.
I have a family member who has Turner syndrome. Turner syndrome is where you're a woman, but you've only got one X chromosome. Is she not a woman? No, she's obviously a woman. I know women who have had hysterectomies. They don't have a womb. Not a woman? No, of course. What is a woman? My friend Matt Walsh did this documentary, What is a Woman, that did very, very well and kind of poked fun at all these libs. The most interesting part of the movie that a lot of people didn't pick up on is that a lot of glib conservatives are saying, oh, it's just, breasts and a womb. That's what a woman is. But he goes to the Maasai people in Africa, and he says, what is a woman? And the Maasai people said a woman is someone who does the duty of a woman.
Mm.
Right. The conservative line on transgenderism so far has been there is no distinction between sex and gender. We get transgenderism because the libs tell us there's biological sex and there's gender, which is a social construct, and you can have the male gender but female sex, and there you have it. And the conservative answer has been to deny that and say, no, it's all just physical. But that's not true. There's obviously gender expression. You can have an effeminate man. You can have a butch woman. There have been tomboys for all of history. And a lot of that is socially constructed. The conservative answer, I think, is there is a distinction between sex and gender, and you have a duty to perform your gender in accordance with your sex. You have an obligation to fulfill the natural roles that correspond with your sex, because man is not this just dualistic being where your soul and which is when they talk about gender, they're really just talking about the soul. They just don't want to admit it. Where your soul and your body have nothing to do with one another. No, we're hylomorphic beings, and our souls and our bodies are intrinsically united here on Earth, and so we have an obligation to do those things. This would have been commonly understood. Everyone would have agreed with this 20, 30 years ago. Now, even many conservatives, if you say that, if you give them the Don Corleone answer, and you say, you're a man, what can you do? You can act like a man. What's the matter with you? You tell a woman, what are you going to do? You act like a woman. They will back away from you. They'll say, oh my goodness, you knuckle dragger, you authoritarian. Oh my, you sound like a fascist. I don't sound like a fascist. I sound like everybody in the 90s.
How is that then not just a criticism of tomboys? Because it sounds like what you're saying is a girl who's a tomboy needs to stop that, or needs to grow into her womanhood and begin to act like a woman. Where's the diversity? Where's the allowance for diversity among men and women then?
No, well, it is basically what I'm saying. It's that, if you're a man and you're feeling a little, you want to put on a dress, don't.
Yeah.
You're a woman who wants to perform your life as a man.
What does that look like, though? That's what I'm trying to get to. What's like the dress thing makes sense to me.
Trousers on men and dresses on women.
Yeah, is that where you would draw the line then? I'm trying to get you.
No, I think women should be allowed to wear pants on occasion. I'm not going that far. But and of course there is diversity, and this is an eccentric world, and that adds a lot of spice to life.
Yeah.
But we need to recognize what the center of life is. A good image of this was put forward by Jonathan Peugeot, the iconographer in Canada, who he said, we've always understood in our civilization that there's weird stuff. And that's kind of nice. It adds spice to life.
Yeah.
The weird stuff, though,
needs to stay.
It needs to. Well, yes. You look at a medieval manuscript. There's weird stuff. I mean, there's all sorts of little elves with weird things coming out of their bodies. Riding on top of snakes and stuff. But it's always on the edges, of the manuscript. It's always on the periphery. You go to a beautiful cathedral, the gargoyles are on the top, and all these kind of interesting, weird designs.
It's not all gargoyles.
It's
Yeah,
not-
I was
it's-
just in the Vatican last week. That would have been really weird. Would have ruined the church.
It would have ruined, and actually, with some of the architecture,
Modern
that
churches
they've
have done just
you-
that,
They
yes.
have done that. When you put the gargoyle into the center of the church, something has gone dramatically wrong. And so, what the libs have been doing is they have not been, as the conservatives pretend, simply censoring our speech, and we're the defenders of free speech and they're the defenders of censorship.
Yeah.
What the libs are really engaging in is an upending of norms and standards and taboos. And the libs are actually the ones who tricked us into adopting the free speech absolutist position. It happened in the middle of the 20th century when the libs launched the free speech movement at Berkeley. And people look at Berkeley now, they say, well, how did Berkeley, which is the center of the free speech movement, how did it become so absolutely full of censorship against conservatives? Because the free speech movement was never about free speech. There's no such thing as total free speech. There's no such thing as absolute neutrality in the public square or anything like that. That's never been true in any political community. Communities naturally have taboos, standards. Yes, political correctness is a code of speech. So is chivalry, okay? I'm all for chivalry. So what the libs have done is invert those norms and standards, and what the conservatives have done is abandon them. Can you imagine that? That conservatives are now the ones who say, oh yes, we need social media networks where you can say anything, do anything, post all manner of obscenity and threats. And all. No, of course, that's insane. No. What we need is to promote good, reasonable standards and to suppress unreasonable, ugly, evil, wicked, false things.
Thanks so much for watching. Please like if you liked, and if you loved, subscribe.